Well, everybody, the Oblivion Remake hype is real.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah!
We learned back in 2022 that Bethesda put in one of their financial reports a plan for an Oblivion remake. However, we didn't know how certain this was at the time. But now, according to a couple leakers on the internet and all the rumors floating around, it looks like the Oblivion remake is not only the real deal, but may be coming out as soon as April 2025, which as of the release of this video is next month. That would be absolutely crazy and making it what we call a shadow drop, where they drop the game almost as soon as they announce it. I played Oblivion back in, I believe, 2006 when it first came out. I played it on the Xbox 360 and the PC. At the time, I was trying to play more on the console to get a living room experience, but I really wanted the better quality, graphics, frame rate, and the mods available on my PC, so I found a way to transfer my save file from the Xbox 360 to the PC, did just that, and I kept playing that game like crazy. I played it through multiple times, and while it is my favorite, and I don't know why, I never got around to the DLC. I guess it never happened. But Oblivion is definitely my favorite of all the Elder Scrolls simply because I'm a huge fan of high fantasy. I love the art style in it, even though today it does look quite dated. I mean, we're talking about a nearly 20-year-old game, but for the time when it came out, it was incredible. The physics in the game, the conversations with the NPCs, everyone was voiced, which was incredible for that time, even though there were like 5 voice actors, it seemed like. I think it was closer to maybe 14 or 15 voice actors, but you definitely recognize the same voice actors time and time again. But it was an incredible thing back then to have everybody in the game have an actual voice. If you remember, Morrowind had voices for a few characters, but for the most part, it was all text. You had to read, an old-fashioned computer role-playing game reading experience, where you were reading literally more than most long fiction novels. So what do we know about this remake? Well, we know a few things. It's going to be in the dreaded Unreal Engine 5. Now, Unreal Engine 5, or UE5, has some benefits and some drawbacks. One of the main benefits to it is that it's relatively easy to program for, and you can get some really good-looking visuals, what I like to refer to as semi-photorealistic. People call it photorealistic, but it's really not. I call it semi-photorealistic. But on the other end of that coin, when developers often use Unreal Engine 5, they resort to using some of the kind of presets that are in there for lighting and textures and all this other stuff for landscapes, the art, some of the artwork, the trees, ground, stone. And so what you find is a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games start to look the same. They all start to look really good, but similar. And in that regard, a lot of us are getting what I like to call UE5 fatigue, Unreal Engine 5 fatigue, where we really want games to be made in different engines, to look different, to feel different, to have different lighting, different art styles, and not all go for the semi-photorealistic look with the same lighting and the same unbelievably difficult to run ray tracing. And here we come to one of the huge negatives of Unreal Engine 5, and that is performance. A lot of developers are relying on little tricks and techniques nowadays that rely on you having the latest, most powerful graphics cards and you depending on technologies that don't actually render full, authentic frames. That's right, my friends. It's the dreaded DLSS and frame generation, where basically you upscale from a lower resolution using AI, and you use AI to generate fake frames. Now, are they fake? Yes, because they're not coming from the game engine. And you can render as many as 3 fake frames for each real one, or is it 4? It's one of those. I hate fake frames because they don't improve the feel of the game, they only improve the look of the game. And the feel is very important. I want the feel and the smoothness of the frame rate to be one and the same. On the other end of that, DLSS, which is upscaling, means your game actually runs at a lower resolution and it tries to upscale it with super intelligent algorithms to make it look as good, arguably, NVIDIA claims even better. But the honest truth is, I'd rather have real frames at the real rendering resolution. That's just not the direction PC gaming and console gaming is going at this point. So without a lot of added effort by the developers, Unreal Engine 5 games will run mostly sufficiently on powerful hardware with these kind of handicaps in place. However, if the developers take some extra time and optimize that code, they optimize their assets, they look at little ways to improve the frame rate, to improve the performance, Unreal Engine 5 can be perfectly fine. But like I said, the problem is a lot of developers say, hey, look, this is good enough. They'll just use DLSS upscaling. They'll just use frame generation. We'll just tell them to buy a 5090 graphics card and that'll be good enough for us. I hope they don't do that in this case. I hope the Oblivion remake doesn't look like every other UE5 semi-photorealistic game and has all this AI nonsense built in because the actual optimization is poor, but that is a real possibility. What else do we know about this? Well, it's going to have more responsive combat, including the possibility of parries, similar to the Souls system. This is one of the biggest complaints people have about the Elder Scrolls series, is that first-person fantasy combat with swords, maces, axes, and what have you, shields and all that stuff, it just usually doesn't feel very good. It's clunky, it often feels odd, and in Oblivion, you could slash away at enemies that gave little to no response to your attacks. Sometimes you didn't even know if you were hitting them. So in this case, I think what they're going to do, based on the rumors, is they're going to have these enemies actually respond to the attacks, you're going to respond to attacks, and it's going to feel more visceral. Remember that old word from back in the day? Game reviews, everyone was saying visceral. We want combat to feel visceral, similar to the Souls series. We're also catching wind that it's going to have an updated user interface. It says the HUD will be more appealing to younger or newer players, which at first might sound like a bad thing, but actually, you know what? The HUD wasn't even that great. One of the main, most popular mods that PC gamers downloaded for Oblivion was a HUD and interface mod, especially for the inventory. So I really hope they give this a proper PC inventory, at least on the PC version, because we don't want console controller-based inventories on the PC when we're playing with mouse and keyboard. For you console gamers out there, probably perfectly serviceable and fine to have that sort of interface. But for us PC gamers, take a look at Morrowind. You could open up multiple different windows and move stuff between them drag and drop style. Well, you can't really drag and drop on the consoles because, well, you don't have a mouse. As I mentioned before, we've got a possible release as early as next month, April 2025, which is going to be crazy. I will certainly be picking this game up and giving it a shot, even if the performance is a bit shoddy. I still want to try it out because I absolutely love Oblivion. I install a crap ton of mods on it whenever I play it nowadays, but it'd be awesome to see Oblivion brought up to 2025 graphical expectations, even if it is in the somewhat lackluster and disappointing Unreal Engine 5. And as a side note, there's also been rumors about a Fallout 3 remake, which, if true, and we haven't heard anything else other than there's going to be one, at least not that I'm aware of, that means the Fallout 3 remake will likely be the same exact scenario. Since the two games were made in the Creation Engine, I imagine both games will be made with Unreal Engine 5 and probably by the same team, which, to my knowledge, is not Bethesda. A lot of remakes are made by other companies. For example, the Demon's Souls remake was made by Bluepoint Studios, and they did an amazing job. Yes, I've seen the videos where people say they got a few details wrong and messed up some of the atmosphere, but for the most part, it's almost a one-to-one. Now, with Oblivion, I really hope it's not an exact one-to-one, because a huge disappointment in Oblivion was the fact that I believe they had like one guy in charge of creating all the dungeons. And the dungeons, the caves, were very disappointing. They were often short, pretty linear, didn't have anything that incredible or amazing, and after you explored a few, you felt like you explored them all, and they just started to all feel samey, kind of like Unreal Engine 5. But hey, some Unreal Engine 5 games do look unique, some look different, some do some awesome things, some run well, although lately, we've seen with Unreal Engine 5, we're seeing a lot of poorly performing games because developers are relying on more powerful hardware and AI tricks instead of putting in the effort to properly optimize their game. So here's to hoping that Oblivion Remake is real and comes out next month. Here's to hoping it's awesome and looks amazing. And here's to hoping they optimize the heck out of that thing in contradiction to what most other developers are doing with their Unreal Engine 5 games. Are you excited for Oblivion? Please let me know in the comments section below. Make sure to subscribe, join the channel if you'd like to, and also, you know what's coming, guys. If you haven't already, consider picking up a copy of my novel. There's a link in the description. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.